I'm Patrick Farmer. I'm from Russet Hearts. The song itself is mostly just about, it's about going to funerals, essentially, a black tie affair. And it's supposed to just kind of be this weird look on the fact that it just feels so, like, just life itself feels so weird. And when you're just looking at, like, I guess sometimes they're open casket funerals, sometimes they're closed casket funerals, whatever. But it's like just such a weird thing to be sitting there in a room where there's a body that once had life inside of it that now does not. It's just so very weird thing to think about. So it's mostly about that. And then when we wrote it, it was honestly like all of us we were in our practice spot, and that was one of the few songs on the album we actually all wrote like together, like in the room together. So it mostly just involved me coming up with that guitar riff right at the very beginning, and then playing that, and then we all just kind of put the song together from there. Broken Pieces That Once Fit Together comes out August 16th, and I think it's gonna be awesome. I think all the songs on it really kind of encapsulate this feeling of, like, the album itself is kind of just about the fact that sometimes your life just falls apart in a way that you're like, well, I don't quite understand why it had to do that, but it's just all about seeing those pieces and realizing that just because they're all scattered about now, it doesn't mean that the time that you had wasn't like meaningful with those things. It's all about, like, I don't know if you watched Fuse music videos in the early 2000s on the channel Fuse. And pretty much any band that was on there, but mainly there's a band called Armor for Sleep that we all really like look up to, that band. And we also look up to The Used, My Chemical Romance, Census Fail, anything like that. Any like 2000s like mallcore, emo, whatever, Fall Out Boy, all that stuff is really kind of what we go for. But it's really about, like, for most of us when we wrote it, it's really like Armor for Sleep. That's like the one that we really pull the most from, I feel like. So on like all those early EPs, it was just me mostly, just writing everything, putting it all together, recording the demo, giving it to the rest of the band pretty much, or not giving it to the rest of the band, but showing the rest of the band, and then we all kind of work through it. The structure's already there, the parts are already there, everything's already laid out. The roadmap is laid out for you. But then for this album, there's a new person in the band, Kevin. He is the other guitar player, and me and him really like fed off each other. We wrote like most of the album in my house or at his apartment, and just like gives us this whole new thing where me and him both feed off a lot of the same influences. We also take like influence though from people like Failure or like a lot of old like shoegazy type bands, kind of like, mostly Failure, to be honest. That band really is cool. Just like what they do and the chord progressions they have and stuff is really cool. But just me and him feeding off each other for that entire thing was really different, because I normally don't write with other people. We also wrote one song with Steve Perino, who we co-wrote one of the other songs on the album. So we'd never done anything like that before either. So it's just really cool having everybody's takes in the band, instead of just me being like, okay, I think this is cool. Everybody being like, let's do something like really cool, and we all think this is cool. So yeah. It's something I think this is what I've always wanted to make deep down, and I just never had the right people to do it with. So for me, it's kind of like a weird full circle moment of like, oh, like this is the music that I listened to when I was younger, or not even when I was younger, still today. This is music I've always been listening to, and I've been in bands and we've made music kind of that like sounds kind of around that, but we never kind of just like, we're like, well, let's just make like what we really enjoy and really want to listen to. And then this, I just felt like, like for some reason I just had this weird revelation of like, I'm just gonna make what I really want to make and not really care who listens to it or anything like that. And I think, clearly, people have liked it so far, so, thank you to everybody who's liked it so far. But yeah, just really getting to make what we want to make and just kind of really diving deep on what we enjoy. My favorite song off the album actually already came out a while ago. It's a song called Rooftop 7:34 a.m. I think it's one of the last songs that I wrote mostly by myself, and then Kevin came in and like finished it with me basically. And it just has like this energy behind it that I just like, am like, I get behind it every time. Like it's the first song in our set. It's the most hyped. It just gets you so hyped. It's like the hype song almost, weirdly enough. And then the song that I'm most excited for people to hear is actually, I think, the title track of the album, which is the last song, Broken Pieces That Once Fit Together. It just does this really cool thing that I don't think that I haven't heard in a while to really like close an album up and like even set you up for like whatever comes next, in my opinion. I'd say the fresh perspective I'm trying to take on it is that just because it's all falling apart doesn't make it bad, or just because things are changing doesn't mean that it's a bad change. You know what I mean? It's more so about just looking at the cards you're dealt and just being like, you know, I'm still living, I'm still breathing, I'm just gonna keep doing this thing. Like cause I have to keep living for myself and for, you know, everyone that I love and stuff. So it's just about seeing all those broken pieces of your life, whatever it may be, and just being like, you know, that was a good thing that I once had, but it's okay. Maybe one day I'll have something like that again, but for now, it's fine. It's just, I'm going to keep persisting because that's what I want to do. The vibe is just way different with the fact that we're really able to kind of dive into the influences that we really liked, like Armor for Sleep, My Chemical Romance. I mean, all that stuff kind of existed like before, but not like, it wasn't like the forefront of what we were trying to do. I'd say it's mostly that. I'd say it's kind of way more of a dynamic shift. There's a lot like heavier elements as opposed to some of the older stuff. We were kind of just playing it safe and doing just kind of like power pop, pop punk, whatever stuff. And it's like, that stuff's cool, but it's like really kind of wanted to get into something a bit more, you know, gritty for this, or what we felt like was gritty. I mean, you know, it's not like we're like playing hardcore or anything like that. So you know, it only gets so heavy, I guess. I think when people listen to this album, I really want them to take away the fact that everything will be all right, even though it doesn't feel all right now, and that you just, you know, one day at a time, that's all you have to do. The weirdest song on the album is Sleepwalking, because Sleepwalking, like, so we would like, basically, like, I'm an absolute freak, and I like make a spreadsheet for like everything, and I have this spreadsheet of the album, and it was like the order and like all the song names and everything. And I swear, I think Sleepwalking like came off of that list like 4 times and would get swapped with like all these other songs. But then I'd hear it again and I'd be like, I don't know, it's just good. Like, I don't know. So I'd say it's weird. It was like just very odd, like indecisions. There were a couple songs like that, but Sleepwalking was the one that really like stood out as like, maybe this one isn't that good. But then like all of a sudden you listen to it again, you're like, no, it is good. And then, but then you're listening to these other songs. So there are honestly a lot of songs that we did for this album that didn't make it on the album. So there's more songs that just need like that little final piece. So I'd say the coolest thing about this album, Broken Pieces, is that it's not even like really, it's all the songs that like would be put together to do this thing, some of them aren't even like there yet. So I think we're also looking forward to putting some touches on those and hopefully having those come out at some point too, you know? So I think the coolest thing about the album is that it's like, there is still so much more to it that I haven't even realized. You can watch our music video for Black Tie Affair right now on Pulmonary Sound, and keep an eye out for our album, Broken Pieces That Once Fit Together, August 16th.